The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on the break!
with Ambar Garcia, Brian Broaddus, Patrick Walker, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Thursday, November 2nd, 2023, season 19, episode number 62.
You sure about that?
Welcome to the latest edition of The Break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We appreciate you guys joining us. We're going to start today's show first by giving a really, really hearty congratulations to the hometown Texas Rangers. Big
How about that?
World Series
100%.
championship
Yeah.
win last night. They wrapped that thing up. And
Huge Rangers fan
Yeah.
over there? Huge Rangers fan?
as we said this
Yes.
morning,
Okay.
well, for now.
Yeah, for now.
Hold on. Today I'm wearing the gear because of.
Yeah.
But yes, I've always been a Rangers fan.
Oh, okay, all right,
I'm
good.
Dominican, lots of Dominican. I've met a lot of Ranger players. People that don't even play anymore, but it's when you meet a Dominican here in the DFW area, that's very rare. It's
family.
not common. So yeah, you tend to connect with your people, you know.
Yeah, I get it.
You know.
I get it.
So yeah, go Rangers.
Yeah, and we're all excited. Brian, you've been doing radio since like what, 3 o'clock this morning?
Yeah, I was on from 3 to 4:30.
Yeah.
Went to sleep for a couple hours, got up and started typing some Eagles notes. So I was I got to the point where I was superstitious where when I was actually watching the games, they were losing, and they lost that one, and I'm like, okay. But I was all the games throughout the playoffs, I would listen. So last night was watch Eagles defense, listen to the game, and so that was that's the old crusty way of doing things, listening to a baseball game. But I pulled it off. So yeah, and got a parade tomorrow. So looking forward to that too.
You're born and raised here in Dallas, so I assume
yeah.
it's just. I mean, again, I've only been in Dallas. I moved to Dallas in 1997.
Yeah.
So I've been here for a long time. I know. Stop. I've been here for a long time. But it's just, I assume when you've been born and raised here, it's nothing like seeing a champion in your city.
Yeah, my first game that I went to was in 1972.
Yeah.
That's how long ago that was.
That's the year I was born.
And so, yeah, thanks.
I was going to say, wow.
Yeah,
Look, Brian's the only person I can act
Straight.
like. The rest of you guys, like, y'all do that to me, so I get to do it to Brian.
Yeah, but I remember going to games at the old Arlington Stadium. And what's really funny is that there's a lot of Ranger baseball fans that wear the scars of 2010, 2011 of not having success. And I said it on the radio yesterday that I don't wear those scars because there was a side of me that was so involved with what we were doing here with football. You know, and my life has been really since 9 years old has been football. And so funny when you're a fan of I was going to games as a kid and then you go away and then you go start your profession and you're like, but the Rangers haven't been good for a long time. That's the thing about it is you lose. But I got so involved in football and teams I was with and all that, I just didn't have the time to really invest in. But now being on the radio and having to talk about it every day, you don't want to sound like an idiot.
Yeah.
So you invest that way. And so it's nice to see. They've done a great job. The guy that's been, Chris Young, who's the general manager, is a DFW guy. He's a Highland Park guy.
Yeah.
So though it's got to be super special. The only thing I can equate it to is coming to work at the Cowboys in 1999 and being from Dallas and imagining trying to win a championship for the Cowboys with a team that I'd spent 20 years of following as a teenager and then into an adult. So, really happy for Chris, the fact that he's from here. Every time we've ever interviewed him, he's been like, I just want this for the fans. I just want this for the fans. And, we all know this. We all invest in this. I mean, your life, 7 days a week, you invest in this. And congratulations to them. The investment actually paid off.
I mean, they 100% deserve it, and that's saying the least. And like you, I'm a transplant to Dallas, and I got here about 5 years ago, transplant from Georgia for everyone that might not know, hence
If you don't follow him.
Yeah, I don't know how you get away from that.
He will show up in your ball yard with a Braves uniform.
No doubt about it.
I mean, I saw that with my own eyes
proud
today.
Georgia guy. No doubt about it.
But I'm a baseball guy, and I just love live baseball, and I'm a former baseball player, and just the feel, the energy, the air. So, being here in Dallas, not being able to see my Braves live often, what do? You go to Rangers games.
Right.
So, effective, 4 or 5 years ago, I started going to Rangers games. Like Brian said, he's seen me walking through Globe Life, both parks, the older park and the new park, and having seen the struggles that those guys had on the field as far as trying to generate wins, and seeing what the fandom went through in those hard times, and then seeing them flip, and then that switch flip, and them being able to do the rebuild similar, not entirely dissimilar from how my Braves did it when the Braves were going through some rough times. And then in 2021, we get Alex Anthopoulos. He comes in, he gets aggressive, he makes the moves the same way that Chris Young made the moves. So to see the Rangers fans being able to just get the demons off of their back, and then just celebrate this. That's why I said last night on Twitter, drink this in. Like, try to absorb as much of this as possible, because there's just nothing like being a world champion, especially when you do it by overcoming the adversity they had to do it with. Dallas goes out. What happens? Marcus steps up and he heats up. Corey, it was just Corey. You had role players. Jankowski step in. What Eovaldi did last night, getting himself in jams and then Houdiniing himself out of jams.
Crazy.
They were getting no hit through almost 7 innings, but they never said die. So Rangers fans, cheers to you, hats off to you, enjoy this, and just know that next year we're trying to take that belt off of you.
I will say this, though, too, real quick. People say that they bought a championship.
No, we're not doing that. No.
You know what?
If they did,
to be honest with you, as a fan, bring it to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
The ownership spent over $500 million on players. I'm like, I don't care.
However you do it.
I don't care. Don't tell me about it. All I care about is when they hand you the trophy.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care how much or who spends the money or where the money. I just, if it's about developing players, sure. But if it's about going out and buying the best players too, I'm all for that.
And you're not wrong. What bothers me about that is when the narrative is inaccurate, because when you look at the net spending for the Rangers, it's only $3.5 million more than the same Astros team that.
That's
what I'm saying. So if
I
you
have
want to
no
say
problem.
it, then it's
people that always
Yankees, Dodgers.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a true story.
Yeah.
But for this Rangers team, it's not.
Yeah.
Again, it's the arc of it is similar to what the Braves did in 21. The Braves didn't outspend everyone. It's about who you put in what positions. Right.
The Braves do a great job of developing.
It's who you put in what positions, and then the skipper, Bochy, getting Bochy off of the recliner to come in and just do what he did.
Had to spend money on that one, too.
Yeah, so there you go. They did it all the right way, and yes, they spent money, they were aggressive, but they didn't buy it. They earned it.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. The fact of the matter is that this is what being a fan really is all about.
Sure.
You do go through those rough years, and that's the thing. Like, it makes those rough years all the more sweeter when you can get to this moment. And that's part of fandom. Nick and I used to always say, you don't choose to be a fan. Fandom chooses you. Yep. Like, you get your team, and then getting your team means that sometimes you're going to have to go through those really, really rough times. And those droughts can last a very long time. Talk to Cubs fans. Like, it happens. Yeah. It can last
Red
a very
Sox,
long time.
100 years.
But when you get that moment, when you're at the top, it is so worth it and so sweet.
Oh, yeah.
And you just kind of keep going through it.
It was like a week ago that I would constantly hear people, Rangers suck. Oh, we're terrible. Oh, we suck. And these are people that are fans. Obviously, they're their own fans. So to see just how everything just quickly changed, and I say quickly in quotation because you talk about all those years, but it's fun. And I freaking wish I could go to the parade. I can't.
Why can't you?
You want to go for me?
I have a child. I don't have anyone to watch.
Well, you take him.
There will be children at the parade.
It's a parade. A kid loves parades.
He can shotgun beers.
It's hectic enough being by myself, surviving being in a crowd of people.
Yeah.
I don't want to take care of a kid.
That makes sense.
With all that.
That does make sense.
Freaking wish. But just like that. You never know when the Cowboys can flip that switch too.
Maybe Derek and I were talking about this. Maybe
we've seen this happen before. That in a city, that energy starts kind of just permeating throughout the city, and it's just something in the water.
What we say,
Rangers
win it all. Stars are contenders. Cowboys are contenders.
Maps are playing well right now.
There you go.
I'll email you my size, my ring size.
Oh.
Oh, for February.
You know what?
We're bringing it in. We're bringing that energy.
You know about rings? It's so funny. Real quick story. The ladies in Green Bay, they had ladies rings for the championship, and the ladies said, "Hell no." We want the big ring. They wanted the big ring.
Yeah, I want the big ring.
The ladies raised.
Oh yeah, you wanted legit.
The ladies raised such a stink that my boss goes, okay, well if they want big rings, let's go. So the ladies they didn't want the lady style ring, they wanted the big ring.
Yeah.
And so
I mean, if you're gonna do it, do it.
Do it.
You know.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to Cowboys. Let's talk about the injury report. Patrick, give me an update on where we are. There are 4 guys particular I wanted to get an update on: Tyron Smith, Chuma Edoga, Michael Gallup, and Jaron Kearse.
All right, so Chuma Edoga was limited yesterday in practice, which is definitely promising. Again, he's dealing with what is described as a low ankle sprain, much better as far as working through it than a high ankle sprain. So he looks very good for going, barring any setbacks this week. He looks good to go against Philadelphia. Tyron Smith, it was expected that he'd be with the rehab group on Wednesday, and he was. DNP did not participate. Earlier in the week, McCarthy said that he tried to ramp up Tyron Smith on today, Thursday. So today's injury report is key as far as Tyron Smith's progress is concerned.
Yeah, I would keep an eye on that one. It sounds like to me they're going to keep him off the practice field today because they're worried that they don't want to bang him up.
Right.
They don't want somebody like all of a sudden he's practicing and then there's a hit, and then so I would anticipate he is not going to practice today. It's always like we've talked about, get him to Saturday, probably even get him to Sunday if they have to, but today is probably not going to be a practice.
And that is 100% the vibe I'm getting. The Cowboys don't want him to take on any unnecessary contact this week, so they'll have him go through walkthroughs, but as far as getting down there and lining up against guys, go full speed in practice for as much as they can. Probably not going to happen, but we'll see. There was a lot of rest yesterday. Wednesday is, now become the Cowboys veteran rest day. Cooks rested, Stephon Gilmore rest, Jonathan Hankins rest, DeMarcus Lawrence rest, Jordan Lewis and Zach Martin both rested as well. Jaron Kearse popped up with a toe injury. Spoke with him yesterday. Now, the injury report came out after locker room access, but in speaking with Jaron before, I was actually surprised this showed up because the way he was talking, he's playing. Yeah. I don't get any indication from him whatsoever that he's concerned about it, that it's going to bother him. Asked him about covering Dallas Goedert just as a strategic question, and he was like, I'm not in the mood to talk. I'm ready to go out there and get it on. That's not what you hear from a guy who's worried about availability for this coming week. So keep an eye on Jaron Kearse. We'll see if the Cowboys let him do anything today in practice, but it sounds like he's going to go.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In case something crazy, and it could very well happen, but let's say Tyron and Chuma are no-go, or they do start the game and then they come out and come off, would you guys stick with Richards, or would you do some shuffling of moving people around?
Man, this is the times that I wish I lived in the building still, because I could figure out who was going to, if in fact that maybe Tyler Smith is practicing a little bit. Are they maybe of the 8 reps, is he getting 2 reps playing tackle? I don't think they want to move him. I think they would play. I think it's going to be Awesome Richards would be to answer your question. I don't think that they would put Tyler Smith outside. But if you knew that he was taking 2 of the 8 reps at tackle, maybe you would think, okay, it's a thought that they have. But if it's all reps at guard, I don't think they would move him. I really don't.
I'm starting to get the impression, and I could be totally off, but just random conversations with people around the building, I'm starting to get the impression that I don't know that they would necessarily will move Tyler Smith at whatever point Tyron Smith is no longer here. I'm starting to get the impression, I think they may be looking at it and being like, this guy may be one of the best guards in the NFL right now. And if he's one of the best guards in the NFL, it's a Larry Allen type situation, right? Yeah. Do you move him to tackle to see if he can become the best tackle or one of the best tackles in the NFL, or do you keep him at guard where he's already one of the best guards in the NFL? And I think it's an interesting question, and it's an off-season question.
Which position is more important to you?
Honestly, I would say this. I think it's very clear left tackle is probably the most important position on the offensive line. Mm-hmm. However, I will also say, if you tell me I can have a pretty good tackle versus having a great guard, I'm going to take the great guard and keep throwing the dice at tackle and see what I can come up with. See if Awesome Richards can develop into a left tackle for the future, right? I just think it may be a situation where you can say the same thing about Zach Martin. Zach Martin probably, if they would have moved him to tackle, would probably be a really good tackle in the NFL. Would he have been as great as he's been at guard? Who knows? He never had that opportunity. So I would rather take the guy that I know is going to be great than a guy pretty good or even very good at a different position.
I don't think you're wrong in the thought process that's probably happening in the coaching staff and upstairs with the front office as it relates to Tyler Smith, because when you look at even recently, this past Tuesday when Jerry was asked about the possibility of Chuma and Tyra not playing, does that mean Tyler pop out? You could have thought that he had an allergy, like he's allergic to that thought. He was like, before we go in talking about all that. So that's the vibe. But then also you go and you use a fifth-round pick, I believe, on Austin Richards. Yeah. Austin Richards could be that guy, and you make an excellent point, because flip it to the right side of that offensive line, right? You have Zach Martin, and to your point, maybe Zach Martin is a very good right tackle for the entirety of his career, but he's a Hall of Fame guard. That's why what you have at right tackle, you tried Lyle Collins there, and then you put Terrence Steele there, who came in as an undrafted guy, and he turns out. So the importance, I'll answer your question, my more important position is protecting that blind side. But when you look at the totality of the offensive line, the interior needs to be the strongest of that offensive line on any team, because we talk about it week in, week out. If you can disrupt the pocket from the interior, then as a defense, you've already won that battle.
And don't forget, the division you play in, the strength is the interior of those defensive lines you're going to be playing. So you could make the argument in this division, it may be just as important to have really great guards as it is to have tackles.
Yeah, absolutely right.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we're going to jump into the Dallas offense versus the Philadelphia defense. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Cowboys fans, after that move, we've just coined the term Rowdy Replay. Let's roll back the tape.
Okay, there's our mascot Rowdy cheering on the boys. And now he's on his phone, on his Bank of America mobile banking app?
Staying on top of his finances with his virtual financial assistant, Erica.
Bank of America's digital tools are so impressive. Cowboys fans just can't stop banking. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/can't-stop-banking.
Erica is only available in the English language. You must download the latest version of the mobile banking app, only available on select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. Member FDIC.
Welcome back into Dear Doctor, the show where I answer life's questions with an ice-cold can of Dr. Pepper. Sheila, let's hear from our next caller, would you?
Dear Doctor, my friend supported me during a tough time, but what's the right gift that says, thanks for being a shoulder to cry on?
Okay, this one's easy. I say give her a delicious Dr. Pepper. Nothing says, thanks, girl, better than a one-of-a-kind soda. Yes, any Dr. Pepper flavor will do. Now, just a reminder that I don't need to be a real doctor to know that Dr. Pepper is the one you deserve.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
Get a frame-worthy family holiday photo with Santa at the Star, presented by Monument Realty. We've got Santa Claus will be at his cowboy-themed cottage in the Star District from November 18th through December 24th. Book your visit before December 1st and save $5 with the code STARS5. Visit thestardistrict.com/Santa for more info.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios.
We never took our photo.
Last year?
No, remember when Dave was still here and we talked about that for like a long time, and we still never went and walked a few steps over there to take a photo with Santa?
I blame you. You were the holdup.
There were probably plenty of photos you guys took at the holiday party we used to have. That probably.
I missed the holiday party.
I missed the holiday party at Texas Stadium.
Yeah, me too. That was for Before we got so big, we could really just have a great time.
It's the smirk for me. Did you catch a
I never
smirk?
got to.
Yeah.
the
smirk was very like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
It was a good time. We'll just say it was a good time.
It was a mess.
It was a good time. All right, let's talk Cowboys offense
in a good way.
Versus Eagles defense. Brian, what do you have?
Yeah, I think that when you look at this Eagle defense, the strength of it is their defensive line. And it's going to come down to a couple of different things you really have to be worried about. I think when you start to talk about their edges, Hassan Reddick and then Josh Sweat, I think are the two that factor into a lot of what you're going to try and do here, maybe protection-wise. They're good inside with Fletcher Cox, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter's been a little bit banged up this time. He's got a back injury, and so the reports are that they're going to, it's going to be close for him to play. If that's the case, that's a nice break for the Cowboys because as a defensive tackle, he's got 3.5 sacks. Fletcher Cox is a little bit long in the tooth now. You can see teams are starting to move him a little bit when you watch him on tape. It used to be he was really a steady, sturdy guy at the point of attack, but now people are kind of trying to wheel him and then get him off the ball. Jordan Davis is a massive guy. It's my old saying was always a trash can full of dirt. That's what Jordan Davis is. He could be a hard guy to move. He's just going to be a straight ahead pass rusher. So that kind of takes care of the inside guys. But the outside guys I mentioned with Reddick, I mean, this guy he's primarily going to line up on your right side of the offense, the defensive's left side of the ball. He's explosive. He's really good with his hands. He's going to break you down pretty quickly. This is going to be an interesting matchup with him and Terrence Steele. And Steele has faced him before, so he kind of has an idea. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some help over to that side, some chipping, maybe some line the tight ends over there, make him Reddick play a little bit wider. If you put a man in there, he's got to go a man outside of that. So maybe you just take him off the ball a little bit more or make him a little wider from the ball. But him and Steele are going to have a battle over there. Sweat's going to be opposite. He's long, he's rangy. He doesn't have the quickness, I don't think, of Reddick, but he gets the job done in a different way. Tyron Smith, I'm penciling Tyron Smith as playing this one, and with that in mind. But he's really all arms and legs when he comes off as a pass rusher. There's a lot going on with his rush. You'll see him sometimes get caught up on blockers, and that's a good thing because he's trying to make a move, blockers catch him, and then it stops his charge. Where Reddick's a little bit more of a quicker and then is able to kind of escape. The thing that I would attack of those two with Sweat, he's super aggressive. And I mean, when you watch teams play and they run the boots or they run the jet sweeps to his side, he is so interested in flying down inside and being that guy. Go chase the ball backside, make the play, make the tackle. I've seen some teams be able to take advantage of that with him. So if the Cowboys are going to kind of scheme somebody here, maybe it's Reddick. Keep him a little wide with the guy over there across or next to him, and then also take advantage of Sweat as much as the boots and the waggles. That's coming out the left side there for the Cowboys, and that's a comfortable throw for Dak Prescott. He can make that throw going to his left. So those are a couple. That's how I look at their defensive line right now.
Real quick before you move on to the secondary or the linebackers, one thing I noticed, they are second in pressure rate with a 4-man rush and without blitzing at 40.7. Cowboys the only team that's better at that. Who do you think of those 4 down linemen? Who do you think is the toughest matchup for the Cowboys when you look at who they'll be facing primarily? Who's the toughest matchup?
Reddick, I think it's Reddick, and because the one thing that Steele is Steele's a good foot athlete, so Steele can mirror him. Steele has to be careful not to be overly aggressive. You're going to get with Reddick, you're going to get a lot of movement, and you have to be patient. That's where Steele sometimes, because there's a little bit of some lack of power in the way he plays. So what he wants to do is he wants to set short and then try and jam a guy so the guy doesn't get going. So with Reddick and all that movement, be patient, be patient, be patient. Let him move all that. While he's doing all that movement stuff, he's not getting to the quarterback. So, but I do think that the one I would be the concerned the most about is him on that side, because I think I think that Tyron Smith on the other side can handle Josh Sweat in this game. I really do. The problem might be a little bit with Jordan Davis because he lines up as like a head up nose at time, but it's a 4-3 front, so it's kind of different. Usually you have them where they play in shades, but Jordan Davis, when he lines up like right over the nose, we'll see if Biotish snap, get the hand up, try and stop a guy, because Davis is just going to try and walk you straight back.
And he's strong,
and he's really, really, really strong. And and Patrick knows these guys very, very well. Carter, Davis, these guys are all players that were, on his national championship teams at Georgia, and they're outstanding players. And I think the Eagles, they can affect the middle of that pocket. We talk about the push, and maybe that's one of the reasons why, again, you keep a Tyler Smith there at guard to handle stuff like this.
Can you talk a little bit more about the running game and how that may look like?
They don't let you run the ball.
Yeah, they don't.
First and rush.
This is not going to be the team to try to get the run game going against. They've only allowed 3 rushing touchdowns, 3.8 yards per carry allowed. This is
and
not
the Cowboys haven't been able to really establish the run.
But as Brian is going to get to, this is a game where the secondary can be.
There you go.
This is a pass first, and then you set up the run that way. Yeah. But you're not going to go in there and run down these guys through. You're not. This is not the day for that.
The team that's run the ball the best against them has been the Commanders. Actually, the 2 games that they played, but they've only given up 11 runs of 10+ yards. I mean, they just don't allow it to happen.
What did the Commanders do? Did they do anything different than other teams?
Commanders are a funny team because what they do is I feel like they got a physical offensive line, and sometimes you're able to match. You're able to match bodies on bodies, but the Robinson, the backs that they have, guys are a little bit slippery. The kind of the guys, they see the hole, they get through the hole. These guys struggle a little bit, I think, at linebacker, and this is no disrespect to Nakobe Dean, and because he's another really good player. Him and Zach Cunningham both are. I think that, to me, though, the Commanders took advantage of. Dean is a shorter guy. He's right at 6 foot tall, and he will gamble on where the ball is going to be and stuff. He's a really good downhill player, but he'll gamble a little bit, get caught up on some blocks, and you could run the ball at him because of his lack of height. But if you're going to run the ball wide on these guys, no chance. Dean's going to run you down from behind. That's how he plays. He's really, really good. These guys really aren't good. Patrick mentioned the linebackers aren't particularly good in pass coverage. That's the thing that you get. Dean is, if you look at metrics, numbers and stuff, I just wanted to check, 11 for 11 in targets and receptions on him, and then Cunningham is 25 of 32. So a little bit of some struggle with coverage on when they're put in those situations. But the secondary here is the one that you really, really need to go after. And I just watch it. Their nickel situation is not good right now. And when Maddox is out, Bradley Roby's been dealing with a pec strain.
He was DNP yesterday.
Yeah, so they've struggled to try and find. Sidney Brown has been the guy that they're kind of fitting in. Him and Josh Jobe have come in and played as the nickel. But I'll say this: when you look at I think that Kevin Byard has come in. They made a trade for him at the safety spot, and he's one of those guys that he's a good player. He was great at one time. He's still a good player. He's a plus player when it comes run and pass when you watch him play. But James Bradbury is a guy that has had some problems.
Yes.
And Slay, Darius Slay is going to play on the left side. Bradbury is going to play on the right side, and they really don't flop very much. They kind of stay stationary in the way they play. But the Commanders lit these guys up, and Bradbury especially. He's given up 5 touchdown passes this year. So I would challenge him in every way. They're nickel, and then challenge Bradbury. I think Slay is more competitive. I think he's more willing to kind of stick his nose in there. Bradbury's a little bit more of a cautious guy. So I would take advantage of him being cautious that way.
I'll real quickly throw this in as well. I noticed this on our next-gen stats. Darius Slay this year, he's allowed more receptions, 14, and more yards, 208 in man coverage in 2023 than all of 2022. Correct. And we're not even halfway through the season. Yeah. In addition to that, he's allowing 3.1 yards of separation this year. Right. Last year, 1.7. So almost double the amount of separation he's allowing this year than last year. Slay's still a really good cornerback, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But there have been some holes in his game this year that weren't there last year.
There's been holes in this entire secondary. And I think the deodorant that helps it from stinking is the fact that their pass rush is so good.
Yeah.
Their front's good.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And without blitzing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe they've had 25 sacks. I think it was 17 I saw what they've done without even blitzing.
Yeah, they're number one in actual total number of sacks with a 4-man pressure.
Right.
But their pressure percentage, it's second behind the Cowboys.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to deal with that, though.
And here's the segue. Wonderful point. Because Slay is allowing more yardage and because Bradbury is struggling the way he's struggling, what they try to do is protect those guys by doing less man and it's more zone.
Yeah.
So here's the good news for Dak Prescott and the Cowboys offense and for Cowboys fans who want to know. Again, this is not the team you want to try to run or establish a run against.
No.
But this is zone coverage, 67%. 67%.
Yep.
67% of the time this season, they drop back and they give you zone. Dak Prescott has been lethal against zone coverage.
Yeah.
CeeDee Lamb has been lethal. And if you want real life examples of this outside of numbers, the Jets ran zone. CeeDee Lamb lit them up. The Rams ran zone. CeeDee Lamb lit them up. The Chargers ran zone. CeeDee Lamb lit them up. Dak Prescott, if you present him with a zone defense, then more often than not, he's going to get going. That offense is going to start cooking. Only 1/3 of the time they run man. That's because they're trying to protect Slay. They're trying to protect Bradbury. So, yes, Slay is still a big-time player. They also like to run a lot of single high coverage as far as their safety is concerned. Plays are going to be there. But wherever Bradbury is, you have to circle him and attack him and make him pay.
I agree. Yep.
Well, I want to know, based on the way they play, does this take away Dak's ability to run? Is this a game where you just now pulling back on that aspect of his game?
Well, it depends.
No, I think you challenge him.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it depends a little bit on what they do with the linebackers. If they say, we respect Dak's ability to run so much that in those types of downs, in those situations, we will have Dean basically spy him, then that could change things because Dean's a guy that can run sideline to sideline, as Brian's saying.
Yeah.
So if they want to invest that person in taking Dak away, they can, but that's also part of the whole strategy is, sure, if you want to give me somebody that you're going to take out of
then you just took out coverage.
Right, if you're going to take somebody out of coverage, then great, I'll sit in the pocket, and again, here's the big key, I will hope my offensive line can hold up without me getting outside the pocket. That's also the part of it where they've been able to get pressure with 4, so if they've got that spy there, Dak can't really escape. Now they're going to rely on the offensive line to really have to hold up for the receivers to get open. That's the part that gets a little bit dicey. But again, Texas Coast offense is predicated on quick passing. That should be able to negate some of that speed that they have in getting to the quarterback if they do it effectively and if they can hold up those blocks just long enough for them to get the ball
And
out.
there's also the aspect of using the spy against the defense that's doing it because let's say an example, they use Nakobe Dean as a spy on Dak Prescott. Okay, first benefit, takes him out of coverage because he's focused in on Dak Prescott. Second positive is if the pocket is breaking down, let's say Dak thinks about running, but he doesn't actually go. He just leaks out just enough to drag Nakobe out of the middle of that field, which exposes the middle for Cooks, Ferguson, or a slanting CeeDee Lamb. So you can penalize the other team for spying the quarterback as long as the threat is still there, is what I'm saying. So don't take the threat away by any means.
Correct. All right, we're going to take our final break. When we come back, we got a few more questions on this matchup, Cowboys offense versus Philly defense. We'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
Don't put off getting your oil changed, Dallas. Take 5 Oil Change, a proud partner of the Cowboys, is faster than you think. There's no appointment needed and no waiting room. Yep, you heard that correctly. Take 5 is so fast, you don't even have to get out of your car. You can take advantage of Take 5's fast, friendly, and simple service at any of their locations across the Dallas area. And remember, at Take 5, you stay in your car because they're They're faster than you think. Take 5, the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys.
It's the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black. And right now, Cowboys fans can get 15% off their $75 order. Plus, because every deal needs a playmaker, your order will include a free 5-piece skincare set and free shipping. The Jack Black Playmaker is 4 of Jack's favorites and a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Make a play for the Playmaker at getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys with the code CowboysVIP.
They say champions are remembered, but legends are never forgotten. United Ag and Turf offers a winning lineup of John Deere equipment built to tackle any challenge on and off the field. Legendary John Deere tractors, combines, residential mowers, commercial mowers, compact construction equipment, Gator utility vehicles, and a full line of golf and sports turf equipment. United Ag and Turf, the official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com to find a location near you.
Back to the break.
Head to the Pro Shop at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas on Saturday, November 4th for the final stop of the 2023 Cowboys Collections on Tour. See rare team archives, customized headwear, grab a gift with a purchase, and enter for a chance to win a giveaway.
Welcome back. It is the final segment of the break live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're talking Cowboys offense versus Eagles defense. My next question for you guys is in the Washington, Minnesota, and New England games, all 3 of those teams, which only one of them I would consider to be among the better offenses in the league, that being Minnesota. When they've got their quarterback and their wide receiver, they can be lethal.
They didn't even try and run the ball that game.
Yeah, they can be lethal whenever.
9 times, I think, just they like, okay, we're not going to be able to run it today. So they just threw it, yeah.
Those 3 teams threw for over 300 yards against Philadelphia. Did you see anything that was common among those 3 opponents that you're like, they did this to some success, Dallas can do this because they have similar
Elite receivers give these guys problems.
There we go.
I mean, when you start to talk about all 3 of the common things, you think about Terry McLaurin, and I don't think Terry McLaurin gets enough respect for how well he plays with the Commanders. I mean, he's a tremendous player. You look at what's with Jefferson in Minnesota and all. Yeah, this team struggles with really talented wide receivers. And that's where the quarterback combination has to be the Commanders. It's not great over there, but man, it was well over 600 yards of passing against them in 2 games. So my hope is that listen, the Cowboys have a better passing attack, I think, than the teams that you're mentioned. So. This might be very similar, and I think people hate me when I say this. This might be very similar to what the Tampa game was a couple of years ago, where you realize I'm not going to be able to run the ball, but I could take advantage if I max protect a couple of times, if I focus on throwing the football, I can make it very difficult for this Philadelphia team. And I think the teams you're talking about have that ability. I think Dallas has that ability too. If they just wanted to get in, we saw what happened with the Rams. They get sacked 2-3 times to start the game to get some hits. What they do, they just kept throwing the ball. They're like, no. Our best path for victory today is throwing the football. And I think it's going to take some points in this game. I think you're going to, maybe everybody's prediction is going to be, a small, 2017 kind of thing. I think it's going to take a lot more points than that. I just, like I said, I think there's some things on the defensive side for the Cowboys that the Eagles present that could be some problems. This could be one of those track meet type games. So the best path for me and the teams that you mentioned, Derek, back over 300 yards, it's just they were committed to throwing it and making sure that they got it protected and then got those routes with the receivers on up the field.
If you look at the teams that the Eagles have struggled against as far as narrowly getting the victory versus it being a loss for them, Patriots, for example.
That was opening day.
The opening day. What they do, they took the ball away from Jalen Hurts in a critical situation.
Twice.
Exactly. So if you take the ball away, if you take advantage of the opportunities he will give you, because he will give you opportunities. We talked about it yesterday. He's on pace for 17 interceptions this season. And he'll put the ball on the ground if you put your hands on him.
Funny how little we
and
hear
he,
of that.
yeah, and he's
So funny.
right. Funny how that works.
I do. I go after him and Josh Allen now quite a bit in Buffalo. But I will say this, and matter of fact, we talked about yesterday. I know you weren't here, boss, but the knee. Jalen Hurts ain't talking about the knee. He was asked the question about it in the press conference. He got up and left.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, I'm not telling you my knee does hurt.
But they also last week, if you notice, with that knee injury, he did not have a called run. They did not have a play that was a called run for him last week.
76% drop back pocket passing for this guy now.
And he killed it. And he played a really good game standing in the pocket and throwing the ball.
Right. Got to get pressure on him.
Yeah.
But to that point, you want him to play the game in the pocket because for this Cowboys defensive line, Micah, Tank, Osa, you want them to have the opportunity to tee off on him and not to have to play, east to west. You want to play north to south against him. So, but to my point, those guys struggled against teams that threw a lot and forced turnovers. The Cowboys can throw a lot like they just did against the Rams. They have the weapons and the horses to do it, and they can force turnovers. So the thing that those teams were lacking, Patriots, Vikings, Commanders, was the defense, the caliber of defense that the Cowboys are bringing to the table. So that's another plus for the Cowboys.
So allow me to throw a little monkey wrench into all of this. The one team that actually beat them, though, played a low-scoring game, 20-17.
Defense.
Don't have a lethal passing game, right? Why were they able to be successful?
Physically beat them up front.
There we go.
Yeah.
So there is these other teams that have played them close, somehow Philly has outscored them in those situations. Mm-hmm. Is this a game where Dallas maybe has to take the other approach as opposed to saying we're just going to go out and just bombs away and we're just going to try to score a lot of points? Should this be a game where maybe they try to play a little more ball control, play a little more physical, and try to win it that way?
I keep pressure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with old school football and trying to. I just don't think they're going to run. That's the problem. I don't think
they haven't done it all season.
Yeah, Dallas to me has yet to prove that they can run the football, and so to me, I'm like, does it mean you just totally abandon it? I don't think so. I think you have to try. I think you have to try and run the football. But I don't know. Me personally, I'm putting as many points on that board as I can to put pressure on Philadelphia. Because the one thing I've learned watching Jalen Hurts play, if you can make him hold the football, it's problems for him. Usually they say, oh, he's got plenty of time to throw. With Hurts, it's almost a detriment because the more time he has to think about where he's going to throw, the more problems that he's had. His interceptions and stuff have been at a high rate because of when you go back and watch them, they've all been because teams have made him hold the football. Make him play. We talk about guys like Russell Wilson, making him play backwards. Don't let him play forward. Jalen Hurts is the same way. Make him hold the ball, make him move around a little bit, but kind of keep him in the pocket and make him throw it.
And also, we talked about this yesterday as far as keeping him in the pocket. A stat jumped out. In film support, I went back last night and looked at the film of his past several games, and we talked about this. Very weird. It's an oddity, but it's true. 6 of Hurts' 8 interceptions have occurred when he's throwing to his right.
Yeah.
This is wild for a right-handed quarterback that drops back and his chest is open to that side of the field. That's his strong side. 6 of his 8 interceptions comes on that side. He doesn't have any of those interceptions middle to deep on his left side. So that is his strong point of attack. That's something that the Cowboys can kind of figure out how to use in their favor. 86.74 is his QB rating when throwing to the right side of the field. 112.44. It jumps quite a bit when he's targeting to the left. Keep him in the pocket and try to delete as much as you can, even if it requires a little bit of a safety shade to that side of the field. Force him to stay right.
Is that, I wonder, in hearing those numbers, I wonder if that's less about right versus left and more about where they're using A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
If A.J. Brown's on the right a lot, then that would make sense why he's having those numbers, right?
It would. It obviously is going to go where they line A.J. Brown up at. Point being, there's a glaring differential between wherever he's throwing left versus right. So if A.J. Brown is, let's say, on the right, then that's probably going to be a situation where, okay, well, you have to line up probably Bland. I would put Bland there because of the physicality. So that leaves the other half of the field is probably going to be the weak side. There's a weak half of the field is the point here. And that should give a lot of confidence for this Cowboys secondary because you have Gilmore. And again, my only concern with Gilmore is against a guy like Devontae Smith who's quick and can drag him across the field. But if you're talking about trying to keep Hurts in the pocket, it works in your favor, particularly if you can get pressure. But even if you don't get pressure, again, half of the field isn't his friend, and that half of the field is probably the half that A.J. Brown is not on. So if you need to shade Malik a little bit to A.J., to force him to go back to the opposite A.J., you're going to have opportunities there.
This is one thing that worries me about this before we end the show. Devontae Smith hasn't really gotten off this year. Devontae Smith is a really good wide receiver.
Yeah.
And that's the part where it's like if they're doing all of this with A.J. Brown and they haven't really had the opportunity yet to get Devontae Smith in those situations where he's having those great games.
You know who I like?
That worries me a little bit because he is a very, very accomplished wide receiver.
And I don't know how you'd work this out because Gilmore is your other boundary. But, God, I would love to see some Jordan Lewis on Devontae Smith. And you probably will when Smith takes some snaps in the slot. But that's a matchup that the Cowboys can win is Jordan Lewis versus Devontae Smith. I have my concerns about Gilmore and his current age and trying to stay up with that quickness, but not if it's Jordan Lewis versus Devontae Smith. That's Jordan Lewis for me.
All right. Go ahead, Brian.
I was looking up real quick. I was trying to see if I could find the target chart real quick on
Brown?
On Brown here, and it's my computer's being slow. So in the show, we'll talk about
We'll look that up, and we'll have it for you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
All right, that's a wrap, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll wrap this thing up.
You might be in the parade.
Then he'll call in.
I will tell
and he'll give us a drunken update from the parade and tell us about A.J. Brown and where they're targeting.
Yeah, if you need me to come on, I'll be happy to. It might be a few fireballs into it, but we'll get it done.
I love Fireball Brian. That will be awesome. All right, until tomorrow, for Patrick Walker, Brian Broaddus, Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!